Hi again, and in the previous lecture we built this graphical user interface with Tkinter, but the problem is this does nothing for now. So we press this, but it doesn't do anything. So what I'd like to do here, the final output I'd like to have is when I execute this button. So we have an entry here. We can input a value, and I want to execute this button and get miles here in the text area. So miles is like 1 kilometer unit is equals to 1 mile times 1.6. So if I execute this, I want something like 16 here to be generated. So a very simple program. Note that this is not one of the real programs that I've promised to build in this course. So this is just to get you up and running with Tkinter. So let's close this now. And to have a button do something, we need to add a command parameter here. So the command parameter takes a function here as argument, as a value. And then when you press that button, the execute button in this case, the function that you have here will be executed. So let's say we have a function here, def kilometers to miles. And let's say this function for now, it just prints out some text. Let's say success, for instance. Because it's good to, before you write your actual program, it's good to use print statements to try things out. So that allows you to isolate your problems. If something happens here, you know that you can't have a problem with a print statement, but if you had a more complicated expression here, it gets harder to know whether the problem happens in here, that you are not pointing to the correct function, or you have a problem with your statement. So it's good to use simple statements first, like the print statement. So you'd go here and kilometers to miles, that is the function. And one thing you should keep in mind is that you don't pass the brackets here. So this is not a usual function call. You are just referencing to the function here and let Python take care of the rest. So the function name goes here, and let's try this out. Execute, and you see that we got success printed out in here. Press again, success, success, success. So it's working. However, we don't need to print out success in the command line. We want to print out a value in the text area. Now we need to look at the entry widget, because here is where we are going to get the value from. So the user enters a value in the entry widget, and then we grab that value, and then we use that value in our function. And for this, there is a parameter called text variable. And that would be equal to a string var object, which we have to declare further up here. So let's say e1 value, so that's a variable, and that would be equal to the string var function. And then we point to the e1 value variable, which we have just created. So this variable will get the value depending on what the user will input in the entry widget. Then we can use this value whatever we like. Let's say we want to print that out, a value, and we also need to add something extra here, which is a get method of the string var object. So this is a special object. It's not a string, a Python plain string. To get an actual string from out of this object, we need to apply the get method. So save this and try the script. Let's say 10 here, execute, and we get 10 printed out on the terminal. So we haven't yet connected this string here with a text widget. So let's do just that here. The idea here is that we need to insert a value to the text widget. And to do that, the text widget has a method called insert. So you need to refer to the text widget that you want. So t1 is our text object, and then apply the insert method. And the method gets an argument first, which is a place where you want to insert the text. let's say we want to insert at the end of the text widget. For example, let's suppose you are inserting many lines of text in your widget, and you'd have to apply to execute this method multiple times. And each time, if you put end, you'd enter the new text at the bottom of the existing text. So you're saying put at the end this text. You want value dot get. So the string of the value that the user will enter in the entry widget. So let's see how this goes. Execute the function and put some text here. You can also put anything. Hey there. Execute, and you get the string printed out in the text widget. Alright, but we don't want to just grab this value and insert it in the text. We want to first do something with this value, and then we insert the product, the output, in the text widget. So let's say we will grab the value.get, and we will multiply that by 1.6, and that would be miles. So miles equals to the value that the user inputs times 1.6. So you are asking the user to input kilometers, and 1 mile is equal to 1 kilometer times 1.6. Actually is something like 1.606. I don't remember the exact value, but you get the idea. And lastly, you'd want to pass miles in here. So you would want to insert the miles output value in the widget. Save and execute. And I expect to get an error here. Let's say 10. Yes, we got an error. So when you get errors, don't just try to copy this error and paste it on Google and try to see what other people are saying. You may waste a lot of time. Instead, invest some time and try to understand this error. So what this is saying, it says type error can't multiply a sequence by non-integer of type float. So a sequence can be a list, can be a string, a tuple, etc. And Python is trying to multiply a sequence with a non-integer, which is a float. So a float here is the 1.6 number, and Python is trying to multiply 1.6 with a sequence, with this here. So this is not a number, because the get method actually grabs a string out of a string var object. And a string cannot be multiplied with a float number. If this was 2, it was possible to multiply. For example, if you multiply me, the string me times 2, you'd get me. So, but you cannot multiply me by 1.6 because it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so the solution to this is you want to convert the value that the user inputs to a float. And you do that by adding the float function. So watch out for the brackets here. You see there is an underline under the bracket, and you have an underline here. So this means this bracket closes in here. So everything looks fine. Save and execute again. 10 and execute. And we get the expected output. You can delete this print function, we don't need it anymore. And I believe that was a good start with the Tkinter library, and you should now be able to make more advanced interfaces. However, we will be building a real advanced graphical user interface with Tkinter, which will interact with a database. So it will be a real world program. And for now, I'll just hand you an exercise in the next lecture, so that you practice Tkinter a little bit, and you also get to know with some more cosmetic aspects. So you'll make the program that we built in this lecture, you'll make it more visually appealing, and you'll make sure you'll get your hands dirty with Tkinter a little bit. I'll talk to you later.